Hey there, I'm Trish. Folks say I've got two talents, knowing how to bronze a body and knowing what your future holds. Lucky for you, I put both under one roof. That's right, Trish's tans and tarot readings. Well, you can lay in here and just get yourself as crispy as a Waffle House hash brown while I sit right next to you flipping cards the whole time. Double the raise, double the wisdom, and double the trouble too. You think your man's cheating? I'll tell you exactly which cousin he's running with. Wondering if that cute fella that drives the trash truck is going to ask you out? Baby, when you're under my lamp, the answer's always yes. Trish's tanning beds and tarot cards. If I can't see your future, I'll at least make sure you're glowing when you get there, darling. Trish's tanning and tarot.
Hey guys, how you doing? This is Issues with Toddy Oneskip. I am Toddy Oneskip. I want to talk to you. I want to read you something. What is it? Oh, it's the People magazine from 2023. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, December 27, 2023. That's when it said that it was updated. All right, let's read it. Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Gypsy Rose Blanchard. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, set to be freed from prison, regrets. I've made a few, but then again, too few to mention. My friends, where have you been? I've put the knife away in redemption. Sorry. Unaliving her mama. She didn't deserve that. That's what's in quotes. You can read it. You can see it. She's changed her tune. Has she changed her tune? Set for early release from prison on December 28th, the famed victim of Munchausen by proxy opens up to People in a new interview. Now 32 and set to walk free on Thursday, December 28th, she clearly recalls when she and then boyfriend Nick Godejohn conspired to unalive her mom, Dee Dee, who for years had subjected Gypsy to painful medical procedures she never needed and never got. I put in and the never got because we know she never got it. You guys saw the outfit, right? The Halloween costume, the barely nothing Halloween costume. You know that, right? You see any of the 40 scars she claimed to have? Okay. Here, let's continue on. Who for years subjected Gypsy to painful medical procedures she never needed, and I added never had. It was argued in court and is widely believed that Gypsy was a victim of Munchausen by proxy. It wasn't argued enough. A rare form of abuse in which a guardian exaggerates or induces illness in a child for attention and sympathy. That never happened. Never happened. You know why? Because Gypsy has a micro deletion. And you know how we know that? That's why she's going to have IVF for the second child. She doesn't want to pass on the micro deletion. If it's no big deal, why not just pass it on? Family trait. At the time of Dee Dee's unaliving, Gypsy claimed she was being mentally and physically abused and forced into yet another unnecessary surgery. Now she tells People, I was desperate to get out of that situation. According to Gypsy, that desperation led her to ask Godejohn 1,025,000 times, I added that, to unalive her mom, which he did while she waited in the bathroom of the Springfield, Missouri home she shared with Dee Dee, and then later had X in or next to in the same house after the brutal unaliving of her mama. Is that not weird? It's just kinky, but we shouldn't mention kink, according to her friends. It's a crime that captured the world's attention with popular Hollywood reenactments like HBO's 2017 film Mommy Dead and Dearest, and more recently Hulu's 2019 series The Act. But now, as she prepares to tell her own story in Lifetime's gripping new docuseries, The Prison Confessions of Gypsy Rose Blanchard, of course she's going to leave out all that shit that we got out of the FOIAs, right? Premiering January 5th, she's opening up to People exclusively for an upcoming cover story about the deep remorse and sense of forgiveness she now feels. But her mom's a piece of mom. Guys, we got to make a shirt. We got to fucking make a shirt. She's a piece of mom. Here we go. This is in quotes. Please notice. If I had another chance to redo everything, I don't know if I would go back to when I was a child and tell my aunts and uncles that I'm not sick and mommy makes me sick. Says Gypsy, or if I would travel back just to the point of that conversation with Nick and tell him, you know what? I'm going to go to the police. Please tell them everything. And I kind of struggle with that. That's the most remorse we've ever heard her say. But she adds, nobody will ever hear me say, I'm glad she's unalive. Wait a minute. What? Huh? This is in quotes. Nobody will ever hear me say, I'm glad she's DEAD, or I'm proud of what I did. I regret it every single day. What happened? What? Wait a minute. It's not even 2 years later. What? Let me read that again. But she adds, nobody will ever hear me say, I'm glad she's DEAD, or I'm proud of what I did. I regret it every single day. By the time Gypsy was 7, Dee Dee had falsely claimed her daughter suffered from numerous illnesses. We have the records to prove she had a micro deletion or two. Yeah. Okay. One of those was muscular dystrophy, which Dee Dee said required Gypsy to use a wheelchair. Now, if you guys remember, Gypsy said out of her own little lip-licking lizard mouth, say that 3 times fast, that she lied to her mom about not feeling in her legs. Remember? I didn't tell my mom that I got my feeling back in my legs because I didn't want her to stop giving me attention. Remember that? We should just let that go. What about that? One of her biggest beefs is the fucking wheelchair. And, Gypsy put herself in that wheelchair by lying to her mom. And she said that out of her own mouth. Does anybody remember that? Hands all the way in the back. Biggin. Second biggin. You don't remember that? Play the tape. She said, I didn't, that a doctor told me that during a procedure, I had, what'd she say? She had a seizure or a fit, something like that, right? And she lost the feeling in her legs, and maybe she'll get it back. And when she got it back, she didn't tell her mom because she didn't want to lose attention from her mom. We have memories. We have memories. Everybody else but you, yeah. Okay. I know what you're thinking. I know. Memories like the corners of my mind. Misty watercolored memories. Yeah. Here we go. And then there's all these other claims that's bullshit. How many people saw the scars, by the way, on Gypsy with that Halloween costume she had on? The real risque Halloween costume went up to there, right to her boobies, right? And then the pants almost went right into her coochie, right? The little shorts. Yeah, you see any? No? Okay. Dee Dee said required to use a wheelchair even though the girl was able to walk without issue. Oh, I'll talk to Gypsy about that. She's the one that lied. Next came painful and unnecessary feeding tubes and a claim that Gypsy had leukemia. Well, I heard Becca Scoops, and I trust Becca Scoops because Gypsy supposedly weighed 36 pounds. At how old was she at 36 pounds? And then Becca showed that when she started with the feeding tube, she got up to a normal weight. So the fact, and she also showed how hard it was for Gypsy to swallow. She did this whole slowdown of the royal mashed potato thing. You got to check it out if you haven't. Okay, so all of this unnecessary bullshit. Gypsy herself spent years in the dark, obviously. I knew that I could walk and didn't need a feeding tube, but I never told anybody. I never said anything because I like being pushed around. I'm special. But everything else was a really big confusion to me. She says, citing her epilepsy diagnosis. Well, if somebody says that you had a seizure on table like you claim. They said in the middle of a procedure. I don't know. I don't know, Gyps. I don't know. I'm not a doctor. Speaking up about dipsies, Dee Dee's wild claims was something Gypsy said she learned not to do. I would voice concerns, being like, I really don't feel like I need this. And she would get really, really upset with me and start manipulating me, she says. In the early days, to get Gypsy to comply. Well, here's another lie. She'd say, if you do well at the hospital, then we're going to Toys R Us to buy you a new Barbie. Remember when she wasn't allowed to play with Barbies? Remember she said that? But her mom would buy her a new Barbie. Oh, Gypsy, it keeps getting worse and worse and worse. Making things worse, I was very sheltered, explains Gypsy, who is never enrolled in school, which is so not true. Somebody showed like school records. This is so embarrassing. I mean, a lot of the shit is just proven. I, God, I don't know how much more I could read. I was limited in what I could watch and the exposure I had to other kids. What I knew of the outside world was only in Disney movies, and those don't talk about warning signs of bad parents. Because now she's talking about from having that her mom kept her from having her relationship with, sorry, Rod, a deadbeat dad and a stepmom that just didn't want to know you because they would have made more of an effort, considering, according to them, they thought you were going to be dead by the time you were 18 or 19 years old. Didn't you see what your dad said? But still, he figured he'll catch you in another lifetime. But as a teen and young adult, she rebelled, and things between her and her mom turned violent. I tried my best to be respectful, but sometimes it was hard. She'd be calling me things like, oh, let me guess, because you were. I'm sorry, did I say that out loud? I didn't mean that. Her decision to have Dee Dee unalived came when she tried to run away ahead of yet another needless procedure. See, this is the bullshit. Because I think she's saying the procedure had something to do with her neck, and then she said something about the procedure with the feeding tube or something. But here we go. But after years of reflection, self-worth, but after years of reflection, self-work, and therapy, she says, she didn't deserve that. She was a sick woman, and unfortunately, I wasn't educated enough to see that. She deserved to be where I am, sitting in prison doing time for criminal behavior. That piece of mom. That piece of mom. And then she goes on to say later on about the love affair she has with Ryan. 37 he is. Joined my husband. He's a teacher in Louisiana. Not anymore. She made sure of that. And they're in love, but they're not in love. They're not in love, Gypsy. Come on. You used him. I'm on the eve of my happiness. This was just before. She said she hopes hers will be a cautionary tale. I want to make sure that people in abusive relationships do not resort to MURDER. It may seem like every avenue is closed off, but there's always another way. Do anything, but don't take this course of action. Why? You still co-sign that course of action. And then she says something like, it's a journey. I'm still really trying to come to a place of forgiveness for her, for myself, and the situation. I still love my mom, and I'm starting to understand that it was something that was maybe out of her control, like an addict with an impulse. That helps me with coping and accepting what happened. But what happened? Because she didn't do anything more. She's dead, Gypsy. So what happened from this interview to what you said last week? I'm asking. I want to know what happened. Because you said other things. You said horrible things about your mom. Not that she was a piece of mom. We still need a shirt for that. But seriously, that she was a piece of SHIT, and she deserved what she got, and you're not going to find excuses for her. What did she do to piss you off in her death? You're a horrible person, and you're a liar, and that shit always comes out. Guys, what do you think? Tell me in the comments. I appreciate you guys. I honestly appreciate you guys. I hope that you know that. I hope that I show you that. And if I fall short of that, it's never intentional. Sometimes we see things differently, and we have to be respectful of the way that is. Guys, be better today than you were yesterday. Not half as good as you'll be tomorrow. I appreciate all of you. Again, thank you.
Welcome to the Moose Knuckle Lounge, where the drinks are cheap, the music's loud, and the knuckles always tight. Now, here at the Moose Knuckle, we've got homebrew straight out of Jamina Babina's bathtub, a pool table that ain't been level since 1992, and wings so greasy you think you got Lil Bree's hair in your mouth.
Jimmy Bobby, that ain't nice.
Well, hell now, it's still cleaner than Gypsy Rose's house. Come on down and slide into the busiest Moose Knuckle in town. The Moose Knuckle Lounge, where we stay tight all night.